Andre Cantelmo has been farming with Greg Baylog at Heron Pond Farm since 1998. Andre's going to tell you a lot about his experience grafting tomatoes, since tomatoes are a huge part of their operation.
Thank you. So, thanks for the introduction. At Heron Pond Farm, tomatoes are, a rather large piece of the pie. We do several different types of tomato production. We do outdoor production. This is a picture of our 3-season house. This is the Haygrove Tunnel. We do an acre of covered tomato production that way. And then we do about 6 30 by 96 greenhouses that are more traditional in their production style. Because of this, we graft 10,000 plants a year, and that has led us to have to come up with a different philosophy about what grafting is to our farm. And so unlike a lot of other people who grafting is a science and they perfected it, we needed 10,000 grafts. We couldn't afford 10,000 grafts anymore. Buying them in, we couldn't get them. They would come in with disease. They would, or they would just like be prohibitively expensive. And so when you get up to about $30,000 in grafting materials for a year, you're highly motivated to figure it out for yourself. So our grafting, we never really wanted to be grafters. So our grafting philosophy is on like, how are we not going to fail at grafting, and what can we throw up against the wall to make this happen? And so title of this talk is how to graft tomatoes even when you don't want to, because we never wanted to be in this position. So like I said, tomatoes are a really important part of all of our farms and mixed production. This is some bag culture that we do. And like having the right varieties, having them on time, and having grafted varieties is really important to get those production numbers per square foot up, because the more we have per square foot, the less square feet we really have to do. So even though we're doing 10,000, if you're doing 100, you're going to do better with 100 grafts than you're going to do with like 100 regular stock tomatoes. So, grafting was never easy. We preferred buying them in, but we needed an effective, simple system to do it ourselves. We tried many times and failed. And our main failing point was like post-grafting and not healing them well. So that's what this talk is really going to be focused on, like how to heal them better. So like, really quickly, what's been discussed already, a lot of places, we space our seedings out so they don't get, they're not piled up on each other. We seed every 2 days so that we have a mix of scion and rootstock. We split up any one planting over a 1 or 2 week seeding plan. We don't over fertilize the plants. We don't want them growing too vigorously. We always find that like a slightly purple plant is definitely our friend. We harden off by bottom watering and moving to our grafting basement at least 1 day, but maybe 2 days before. And that is really basically to slow the plant down and say that like it's not going to be growing. The other thing is that is a temperature reduction, because the basement that we do the grafting is kept at about 50 degrees in our grafting area, maybe 50 or 60 degrees. The healing chamber is done differently. So we use the miters. A lot of people I've talked to hate these knives. We love them because we can just crank through tons of rootstock and scion, and we can get a bunch of different people involved in the grafting process. So the other thing I want to say is about choosing your clip. We prefer to graft small. But when we get up to about 1.7, 1.8, that's like our wheelhouse of grafting. We don't use this particular graft clip anymore. We use the one with the loop so that we can put a nice little lollipop stake in with it. But choosing your clip is really important. If it's too tight, you're going to bruise those cells. If it's too loose, then the hydrostatic pressure is going to separate your graft, and then you're just going to end up with like no point of contact for them to heal. So paying particular attention to that is key. Now this is the meat and potatoes of like why, basically why I was asked to talk, is because we just like throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and hope most of it sticks. So whereas someone like Skippy is probably like really high precision, really paying attention to each variable and getting like high 90% success rates out of his graphs. We started out thinking if we get 70% success rates out of our graphs, then that's good enough. And right now that we've been doing this system, we're probably more like in the high 80s, low 90s. Still, with a backstop of like 70%. Like there's like even our roughest heirloom variety that doesn't want to be grafted, we can get 70% out of that. And this is how we do it. We basically dumb down humidity control. So basically we use these domes, we spray the inside of the domes thoroughly with water and make sure that they're capped correctly. We make sure that the domes have bleached between seasons. And we check on the plants every day. And we just basically make sure that there's a nice, little coating of humidity on the outside of these domes. And these domes are all put in a room like this. This is probably the best thing we've ever done with our grafting. This is again in the basement. So we're grafting in one area. This room is built on the side inside the basement. It's heated to 70 degrees. It's 100% darkness. There's a light in there so I can stack and unstack the trays and do the misting when I need to. But it really makes the healing in here work for us. So they stay in here for 4 days minimum, sometimes 5 days. And that is because that's the minimum time for those joints to start to heal. And we used to kill things at this stage. And so then we were doing great and everything was surviving through this stage. But then when we would bring them back into the greenhouse, then they would all die. So we decided to bring them out into a lit artificial temperatures. The greenhouse, these lights are so that the plants don't get leggy. And if I can go back here, I just want to say that the first thing I do is that there are little, there are little vents on the sides and the tops of these, and you can take those vents and open them up. And that's the first thing that we do under the lights. And then we gradually open up the domes the rest of the way. So these are getting about like 8 to 10 hours of light a day, and then they go into darkness at night. The domes are put back on with humidity at night when they do not under the lights. And then eventually the dome comes completely off. And after that, we just move these things out into the world. Oh, real quickly, this is the kind of the cheapest, most effective little light that we found. There's a million of these. Go the way that you think is best. And then they're out, they're ready to go. So sometimes right underneath this bench, we throw the trays for a day or two, but these plants are out and ready to go. The great thing about grafting is like we have all the varieties we want. We don't have to get varieties that someone else chose for us because that was the ones that they were willing to graft. The timing is all ours so that we know that the graft is ready when we want to be able to put it in the ground. And we're going to get the quality plants that we want by doing this. So thank you very much. I hope I'll be available for some questions later. And that's the crew that makes it all happen.
Thanks, Andre.